Skip it up and that up.
Team Deathmatch.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Rich of Review Tech USA, and this man has very talented genitals.
Sit down and relax. I'll have my penis cook you a burger.
Okay guys, you asked for it and I did it for you. I'm going to give you my first impressions of the PlayStation Vita. I was at work today visiting Best Buy for my job. I had a lot of downtime, and my friend who's actually a rep for Sony had a Vita, and I had a lot of time to play with it today and give you my impressions of it. So let's get into it and see what I liked and did not like about the PlayStation Vita. Now, unfortunately, obviously I couldn't bring a camera into the store for legal reasons, and I didn't want to get fired. And I can't use footage from IGN, stock footage. I can't use footage from Sony. I tried to when talking about the Vita before. They all claim copyright instantly, even though I'm more than my legal right to use their footage. But it's not worth the hassle. It's not me being lazy. I apologize to you. I just can't use any footage of the Vita, guys. My hands are tied. Anyway, enough of me blabbering. I have a ton of notes here. Yes, I actually wrote down notes about the pros and cons of the Vita. So let's get into it and tell you what I thought of this new portable console. We'll start with the pros. The first thing is that the screen is gorgeous. It looks sharp, it's bright, the OLED screen looks amazing. It looks like it's high definition, even though the resolution isn't high definition on the Vita. Fantastic screen, one of the best screens I've seen on a portable device to date. There's a lot of negative rumors going around about the screen on the Vita, saying it's not as good as Sony claims. Either those people have cataracts or they're hating on the screen. The screen on the Vita is gorgeous, so don't listen to any of the naysayers out there about the Vita screen. Speaking of the screen, beyond it being very nice to look at, it's also very responsive. The capacitive touchscreen, you want to tap an icon on there, you go to where you need to go. There's no hesitation, there's no lag, which I've even seen with some high-end Android phones. But this works. You touch something, the first time you touch it, you're going where you want to go on the Vita. I was very impressed with the capacitive touchscreen. Once again, one of the best capacitive touchscreens I've seen to date. It works extremely well, and I thought I've seen some of the best capacitive touchscreens out there. This still blew them away. Another thing I was very impressed with. Another thing I really liked about the Vita is the graphical user interface, or the GUI. They have these kind of bubbles on the screen that bring you to the PlayStation Network, bring you to the game that you have in your console, so on and so forth. They have social networking. The nice thing is that you hit one of these bubbles and you'll go to, for example, the PlayStation Network. Say you get the game you want to get, you download the demo. When you're done with the PlayStation Network, it almost looks like you're about to turn a page in a novel. You flick that down and it brings you right back home, and it's really fast. Once again, really responsive. You see that Sony really thought out the operating system for the Vita, and it works really well. It was very easy to navigate. It took seconds to get used to it, so that was also very impressive. It felt very fresh and very new, and it didn't feel like they tried too hard or tried too little to make an operating system that would be fun and functional. So the user interface on the Vita is another huge win. Another thing that surprised me, it sounds like I'm just giving this thing all praise. I also have a decent list of cons too, don't worry. Is that the Vita is really light and really comfortable to hold. I was expecting this thing, from pictures and from what people told me, to be a heavy beast. I mean, yeah, it's bigger than the PSP, but when you pick this up, say you go demo it at Best Buy and there's a rep there, it is ridiculously light. You're going to be shocked when you put this in your hands how light it is. Also, like I said, I used it for about an hour. I played a very horrible game on it called Little Deviants. It felt like the tech demo for the original iPhone from 3 or 4 years ago. But beyond that, the system is incredibly comfortable to hold, and it is very light. I was pleasantly surprised because I expected this thing to be a heavy brick, and it wasn't at all. The last thing I got to say positive about the Vita is that all of the buttons, not the analog sticks, we'll get into those in a minute, all the buttons felt really good. They had a good clicky feel. They were a little small, especially the 4 face buttons, not the D-pad. D-pad was small as well, but they were solid. They felt responsive. They felt well made. They felt like they would last a long time. Definitely good build quality. and they felt very comfortable. Now let's get into the negative things about the Vita, and most of it has to do with the first thing I'm going to talk about is the thumbsticks. They are very small, they feel very stiff, they don't have a real large radius that you can move them, meaning that it feels like there's like a millimeter, you could swing them in any direction. So I don't know how precise they're going to be. Now once again, they had the game Little Deviants, which is an awful game. I did not enjoy it at all, which really just used the motion controls. But I play with the analog sticks a lot, and just to get the feel of them, they just felt very awkward. And on top of it too, because they're so small, I have big hands, I'm a big guy, you've seen my bare hands before. I just felt out of place trying to maneuver them. And I'm thinking to myself, like, they're going to come out with Call of Duty for the Vita, and because of the fact there isn't that much of a radius you could move the sticks, say for example you want to snipe in Call of Duty Vita, and you need that pinpoint accuracy. I don't know if you could do that with these analog sticks. Now once again, I didn't have a game to fully utilize them, but I still felt like they were very uncomfortable, and that's going to hinder gameplay with them too. Also, there's two other things. One, there isn't the L3 and R3 buttons, meaning you can't click in the analog sticks. Sony keeps boasting the remote play, where you could play like Killzone on the PS3 and you could play it through the Vita. People were playing Battlefield 3 through the Vita, but you need to melee and you need to have the buttons that are incorporated in the analog sticks in the PlayStation 3, and the Vita analog sticks don't click in. So you're missing out on two buttons. So I don't know how that's going to work out if you don't have that feature. The last thing too is that the analog sticks on the Vita are convex. They're not concave. Like, you know, on the PlayStation 3 controller, they're convex on there as well. They're concave on the 360 controller. That would be fine too. But the texture that's on top of the Vita analog sticks, it's not as rough as it is on the PlayStation 3. And it sounds dumb, but I can tell you right now that if you're sitting there playing the game for a while and your thumbs start to get a little bit sweaty, they're going to slip off of those sticks. Honestly, I have to say this, and I know people are going to think I'm nuts because it wasn't that popular. I really think that the Vita would have been better off with the PSP analog pad. I just have to let it be said, if they fortified it and made it more durable and you know, made it, just did a little more R&D on it and made it better, I think that would have been a better option. I have a feeling that these analog sticks are going to come back to haunt them. I'm just saying, I could be totally wrong because this is just a first impressions video, but that's how I feel at the moment. The other thing I did not like is that the back touchpad of the Vita, that's what Sony's been really boasting and they've been showing on IGN and GameSpot, that touchpad has no texture to it. It looks like it should. They have that pattern on the back of the system, but it's flat, it's glossy. You can't tell where the touchpad is. It just doesn't feel like it's going to be as comfortable to use, and it feels like it's going to be a little bit awkward. And that could have been totally alleviated with a simple light texture to that back touchpad. I'm very shocked they didn't even think of that. I'm sure you'll get used to it. I'm sure you'll get used to where the touchpad is on the back of the Vita, but why no texture? That was just a ridiculous, dumb design move to not have that be textured. The last thing I did not like on the Vita, Blunty3000 did an awesome overview of this feature. I'll have the video linked below if I do remember, is the cameras. Both the front-facing cameras and rear camera of the Vita take horrible pictures. I understand the cameras are more of a novelty and they're only going to be used for augmented reality, but in 2012, there's no reason why cameras on a game system, for a new game system nonetheless, should look like they came off a prepaid Nokia camera phone from 2004. The colors on the pictures were very washed. It looked cheap. It was such a, you know, if you're going to include the feature, make it good. There's no reason why. I mean, look at all the cell phones. Even my cell phone, which is an entry-level Android phone, takes decent pictures. It was funny, the gentleman that had the Vita today, someone I actually know from my previous job and friends with him, he had his high-end Android phone. I had my low-end Android phone. When we were taking pictures and comparing it to the Vita's pictures, like right side by side, you couldn't even compare the quality of the Vita's pictures to my entry-level LG Android phone. They were just so poor, so blurry, and so washed out. Very unimpressed with the quality of the pictures that came from the Vita. There's no reason for it. I understand it's not a main feature, but at least make it decent or don't put the feature in at all. That's how I feel. Anyway, guys, that's my first impressions on the PlayStation Vita. Leave your thoughts and comments below, and as always, thank you for supporting my channel. Have a good one.